You've probably heard before that one of the great things about Rocket League is that it's a game in which you can't really cheat, or as far as we know, people really haven't cheated besides, players being too young for RLCS or things like that. It's really difficult to cheat at Rocket League. Now, in regards to what we're going to talk about, I want to say very clearly from the outset that before you watch this video, before you start accusing people of cheating their clips like we're going to talk about, 99% of the freestyling community, or really anybody that you see hitting amazing shots, like those people are legitimately doing those things. Just because, they're doing something incredible or maybe doing something new or doing something that you really feel like you could never do doesn't mean that they're cheating. But this is a bit of a problem, and I really do believe that this is going to become more of a problem in the future. Again, though, when I think of players like Henkovich, I think I'm saying that right, and players like Rezi and Jazer and so many others, these are freestylers who have some of the best mechanical skill in the world. And as we'll see, even using these cheats like to hit certain clips, it still takes a crazy amount of skill. I also want to say that I really didn't want to make this video because it involves people who I actually know, and for that reason, I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not protecting anyone if that's what you think. I'm not actually super close with anybody that I'm sort of referring to. I'm just showing you how this kind of thing is possible, and if you want to research it yourself or examine clips for yourself, that's fine. Even though virtually all of the respected freestylers have confirmed that this kind of thing is happening, I'm not going to call people out directly because that's really not my place. So this is something that I've had multiple people show to me, and like there's multiple videos that people have showed that are basically on this topic. So I'm not the first person to talk about it, but basically it is possible using BakkesMod, which is a mod that you can use in PC. It's sort of like a platform for lots of different plugins, but within BakkesMod, you can slow your game speed down without having to actually go into a private match and use the mutator that slows things down, and it's super precise, so you can slow it down to a really exact amount. Now this can be done in custom training, and it can also be done in free play, and it literally slows the game speed down. Now many of you probably know this, but it's much easier to pull off difficult mechanics and moves at much slower speeds. And I've recommended before that if you want to learn something, it's good to go into a private match and slow the speed way down, including, difficult shots like air dribbling or flip resets, but also mechanics. Like if you want to learn how to wave dash and you're struggling with it, if you go into a slow-mo match, it is a lot easier to practice that mechanic because you just have so much more time to, try things, and you have so much more room for error because your thinking can be quicker because the car and the ball aren't reacting as quickly. But with this feature in BakkesMod, you can actually go into a custom training shot or free play and slow the game speed way down. Like it seems like 50% is the number that people have used to cheat clips, and I'll explain a little bit later why that is, but you can slow it all the way down to something like say 10% or 20%, which is almost too slow, or you can even slow down to like 80%. So here you can see I've slowed down the speed to about 50%, and honestly, I suck. But here's me pulling off a lame ceiling shot, and I've sped that clip up so that it looks as though I'm at normal speed when I hit it. Now here are some clips that were actually recorded initially at even slower speeds like 30 and 40%, but I've sped them up so that it looks like I did them at normal speeds. And on this, I really can say I'm able to do some things that I probably couldn't do at a normal speed, like pick the ball up and just air dribble it across the field. Like I can't do that very well or hardly at all at a regular speed. So here you can watch it slow down, and you can see it's so much easier to make adjustments and really just think faster than possible at like a normal speed. Also, if you guys do this for a while and then you go back to normal speed, it is the weirdest feeling ever. Like you can still play, but the ball just moves so much faster and the pace is just like so much quicker. It feels like you're playing in fast motion, like you're watching a movie that's being sped up. Now you might be wondering at this point, okay, maybe freestylers are doing this, but how do we know that they're doing this? Everything looks the same, right? Like it's just sped up, and you'd never know if the original clip is sped up. Well, there's really two main giveaways, and both have to do with the boost and the boost meter. So even in slow motion, as you're seeing here, the boost meter has this boost message popping up and disappearing, and no matter how slow BakkesMod has the game speed, this is always flashing at the same pace. So this means that if you're speeding the clip up, that will be sped up as well. And if you watch my clip that appears to be at normal speed, the boost meter at the bottom is actually like twice as fast or even more. Like on this clip where I had it at 30%, it's obviously gonna be about 3 times as fast or a little more than that. Now, the second aspect related to boost has to do with the game speed after the goal is scored. So if you slow the clip down, either in BakkesMod or even with the mutator in private match, the game speed goes back to normal when you score. So, the second you score, everything just goes back to normal speed. So if you speed it up to, 2 times and then the goal is scored, it will look too fast. So right at that explosion, you have to slow the speed back down to regular because again, it speeds up after the ball is scored. But that means that the boost message will go from its original speed, so like it'll be sped up during the clip, and then it'll slow down back to normal. And if you see that in a clip, it's a sure sign they've probably been messing with the speed in BakkesMod. Now, the few freestylers who I've seen that are potentially cheating clips, they know this, and they know that this is a problem because people have been talking about it. So one way that they can fix it is to zoom the camera in a bit so that you actually can't see the boost. Now, this is not the most sophisticated fix that I've ever seen, but you have to give them credit for trying. I feel like I could actually be accused of this because on my Instagram, I always post with it zoomed in. Like you have the 2 options when you basically upload a GIF, whether you want it to be regular, like, landscape, or you want it to be almost more like portrait, zoomed in more. And for whatever reason, my Instagram posts have done way better when I have it zoomed in more. And I feel like I'm one of the only people, like, content creators posting clips on Instagram who has it that way. I don't know. I've tried going back and forth, but for some reason they just get way more impressions when I zoom it in a little bit. But I can provide proof of any of my GIFs, and honestly, I'm not hitting that great of shots anyways. But, I have gotten a lot better, so I could see somebody accusing me of this, but they're all just GIFs. So anyways, now there are actually other features that can be adjusted as well that won't be noticed. Things like gravity, for example. You can lower the gravity on shots in custom training and free play as well. You can even invert the gravity and hit a weird shot like I did here. And then when I took a GIF of it, like it looked super weird. And this isn't detectable. As far as I know, there's really no way to tell that somebody's messed with the gravity unless they've gone like full reverse gravity. And especially the gravity thing, like if you're doing just say air dribbling and you have the ball just basically glued to your car, you can't necessarily tell that you like up the gravity just a little bit. But it is crazy. If you just clip the GIF like I did, it looks completely different than the original clip. And you can see this is another way that people could cheat clips. Like they could hit it in slow motion and then just hit the GIF button, and then suddenly it looks like it's in fast motion. Now again, I want to stress that most people are not doing this. Most freestylers are legit. They can prove that what they're doing is legitimate. And I don't think we need to be calling everyone out. As of right now, there could be other ways, but if the boost looks normal and it doesn't appear as though they've altered anything, we kind of just have to assume that it's legit. But again, this whole thing with like using GIF your game and clipping it, like this is kind of scary in my opinion. Like this is almost even scarier. If I do anything in game with BakkesMod changes and I just clip the shot, it ends up looking normal. Obviously the reverse gravity thing doesn't look normal. You can tell that's weird, but it almost looks normal. But like this goal, it was scored at 30% and then I just clipped it with GIF your game and the GIF comes out looking perfectly normal with the boost functioning normal because GIF your game just deals with the replay, not like an actual screen recording. So people on Twitter were telling me though that the boost meter is popping up faster, when like for this shot. And honestly, when I put them side by side, to me, I don't know, they don't look like they're popping up at a different rate. The one goal was scored at 30% speed and the other at 100% speed. Like the one should be more than 3 times faster, and it's definitely not. Like it doesn't look any different. People are also saying that the ball is blinking quicker on the one that was scored at 30%. But again, I don't see that. I think it's basically the same. So it should just be very obvious if it was faster, especially if it was actually in relation to the clip. Like if I scored a goal at 1% speed, it should be popping up at like basically 100 times the rate. And that's definitely not happening. GIF your game is just basically getting the info of what happened and rendering it like a normal goal. Now I know that some of you might say like, why would you point this out? Now we're going to have a bunch of cheaters posting fake clips all the time. And that could be true, that this might not help in that sense. But to me, I would be shocked if this wasn't happening already, like all the time, especially among clip hitters who don't stream or don't really show their raw gameplay at all. So we have to point out stuff like this. Like this kind of thing has to be addressed. It's a real problem, and I really think like psyonix should figure out a way to deal with it. Obviously the boost thing helps a lot, and that may be in there as a safeguard to show when people are cheating, like just through a regular screen recording. But you know, if you're using GIF Your Game and you just clip it, you really can't tell. It sucks though, because this is such a cool feature that's just so much better than the in-game mutator, and the fact that you can do this in custom training is really awesome. There just needs to be a way so that people can't just post clips that are basically faked, and we don't even have any way of knowing. Again, it's important to remember that this isn't happening in matches. If you come across a goal on Twitter or something and it's an online game, it's not a private match, and it's just insane, then they didn't cheat that. You know, there's no way for BakkesMod to slow down an online game, at least as far as I know. psyonix doesn't allow BakkesMod to make those kinds of changes. And you know, I feel like it is important to point out this kind of stuff. I've always loved that Rocket League is a game that, you know, it felt like you couldn't really cheat in it. And in online games and competitive play, that's basically true as far as I know. But the fact that I can just easily post a clip of myself doing something at 30% of the speed and nobody knows it, I feel like that's kind of alarming. Imagine what a high-level player can do. Somebody, say for example, who could easily hit a triple flip reset. They could go in and break the flip reset record just by slowing it down to like 20 or 30%. Anyways, I hope this brought to light what could be going on. Again, I want to stress that I don't think that we should be running around claiming everyone is faking shots, and I also don't think we should ostracize somebody who may be doing this kind of stuff. Most freestylers and clip hitters are very young. They're already insanely talented, and you know, now they're sort of caught up in this thing where they have an audience and they have fame, and you know, it's a lot for somebody who's young to handle. So if you're somebody who has faked your clips, honestly, just come out now and admit it. People have cheated in Rocket League and in the Rocket League community before, and they came clean and they were able to regain their position in the community. It's not the end of the world. If you're young and you did something stupid, it's okay. Like, explain why you were doing it, your side of the story, and then move on. But you know, this is a dumb thing to keep doing. I think of somebody like OSM. OSM was somebody who was cheating. He cheated his way to the top of the 1v1 ladder in ranked, and he did this because he wanted to be on Johnny Boy's show match, and he got his butt handed to him in a show match, and it came out that he was cheating. He basically owned up to it, and he's completely like regained people's respect for that because he was honest about it. He was really young and he's matured a ton, and you know, it's part of his story, but it's not the end of the world, you know? And now he's in a position where he legitimately became, just shortly after that, he got rank #1 again in the world legitimately and went on to beat tons and tons of good players in Johnny Boy's show matches. Anyways, I think it's best to say that, like, that's really important. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I know this is a bit different than my normal videos. Leave a comment below if you have any thoughts on this, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.